SGD, let's look at Sydney and the famous Piedmont sandstone, considered one of the finest building materials in the world, was exported as far as Canada, going back to around the early 1900s. But recently, so look here, Piedmont sandstone, harvesting sandstone. And so recent development, Barangaroo Reserve here in Sydney, where the old wharves were redeveloped and they built the Barangaroo Reserve, and this is just a small part of it. They did a lot of stone there, and sandstone hadn't been used in a long time as a building material. By the 1950s, it was considered old-fashioned. I think it's got it written there, but well, what did they do? So there's another view of it. You had to get a bunch of nice-fitting blocks and then arrange them to create this public area. Well, what was this public area? It was really like throw a few dollars, because what they really wanted to do was redevelop Barangaroo and make this giant god-awful casino for international high rollers, and then off to the side there make a public area just to sell the project, for what it really was, a god-awful cash grab in one of the most beautiful parts of the city. And then they could say, well, we are a green council, but just a cash grab. And so that part. But here it says, during that operation, workers rediscovered and adapted techniques developed by stonemasons 100 years ago to extract huge blocks without breaking them apart. There's some of the pics. And what did they do? Well, modern times. So didn't have, instead of paying a lot, even notice the circular saw marks there in the background. Yeah, okay, But one guy on the hose and one guy in the machine with a circular saw on there, so we save on labour. But what did they do? They used an ancient technique, and they just cut the blocks into a grid pattern, and then, as with all stone, whether it's granite, sandstone or limestone, it will crack along where you want it to, if you know what you're doing, especially with sedimentary stone like sandstone, where it's nice layers have been settled down. Same with limestone. And where do we see this same technique? 100 years ago by the quarrymen in Sydney, but also 4,500 years ago in the limestone quarries next to the pyramids. That's the Khafre pyramid over there. There's the Great Pyramid. And what do we see? Exactly the same thing. Cut a series of grids, lever and pop out the stone, and it saves a lot of effort because it's less time reducing the stone. And then we have a lot of stone of the same depth, same height, to the shapes that we want to get them to. Maybe you might have a bit of breakage on the corner, but it's still a lot better than carving out the whole thing. And now we have a lot of stones of the height we want, the size we want, and then we lay them together. And we put mortar in the gaps as well. So the overwhelming bulk of the pyramids, is stone like this, which was harvested like that. Limestone, sedimentary, sandstone, same thing. And a lot more labour, 100 years ago it was all, 200 years ago, big labour force. Labour was cheap, now it's expensive, so we go to machines. But back then, same method, same thing. And again, I suppose it's, there's similarities as well, like they wanted a big, giant, ugly, vanity project in a sort of way. But that's all, what it was going to is less relevant than the fact of how would you do it. So whether you're doing it like this for this type of project, or whether you're doing it for this type of project, same method. So some things never change because it's not whether it's the hand tool or a modern powered machine, it's the stone itself which dictates how things are done because it behaves in a certain way. You can't get a machine to make stone do what it doesn't want to do, or to crack along lines it doesn't want to fracture along. And some things never change, and we're constantly rediscovering things that were rediscovered a long time before. Yeah, if you want, the stone behaves in a certain way, and however you apply it, machines or labour, that's the way it needs to be done, because that's the way that things are. With that, SGD, cheers and have a good one.